All right, let's talk World Series. Let's talk a guy who was there, a guy who was still loved in this city, a guy who left it out on the field. Great Jay, and he is a World Series winner. John McDonald here on Tim and Sid. John, congratulations. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. So last night was a lot of fun. I always wanted to have a night like that, but I guess I never really truly thought that it was going to happen.
Did you sleep?
Oh, I slept for a couple of hours. Actually, the phone just woke me up. I slept from probably about 5 to 7 by the time I got home and put my head on the pillow. And then both my kids had Halloween parties at school today, so we.
So you can't you had to take them both to, like, no one could have helped you with that today with the Halloween parties? You had kind of a big night last night, John.
Well, yeah, I know. You know, my wife. My wife was running one of the parties at school. She volunteered earlier to help out. She volunteered a month or so ago, I guess, right at the beginning of school, to help out for the first party at school, and so she was locked into it, and I didn't want her to do it by herself. So I figured I'll sleep in the afternoon. So
good man.
Yeah, but it was awesome. I wouldn't change a thing.
Let me ask you: could you appreciate it more given where you grew up?
I think yes, a little bit to answer your question. It's, growing up in doing. Now, I grew up a Yankee fan. My dad was a Yankee fan when I grew up.
Right.
We grew up in New England. You kind of get to choose, especially down in Connecticut.
Right.
But over the over the years of playing and watching what happened in '04 and then again in 2007, just the appreciation of what the teams have done up here in New England with the Patriots and the Bruins winning, the Celtics having won, and you want to be a part of that. You want to, especially then getting to come play for the Red Sox. You've seen it happen before, and you look at it and you see how much fun you hear about, how much fun everybody's having doing it, and then it's not just about the winning; it's who you're winning with, and especially on this team this year. As soon as I got over here. From day one, it just felt like there's nothing else that this group of players wants to do except win together and prepare to win. Watching the preparation to detail and to winning. As soon as I got traded over here on the last day of August, you could just tell that was the focus, and everybody wants to win, but not everybody puts in the work to win.
For those driving around the city or listening, thinking to themselves, this guy's about to lose his voice. What's his deal? It's John McDonald, and he hasn't slept, and he won a World Series last night here on Tim and Sid.
It is well-deserved, that voice.
He's been
well-earned.
And he's been kind enough to talk to us. If you blew us off, I wouldn't fault you at all because you haven't slept, basically, and it's been one of those nights. John, you mentioned it's also about who you win with. When you look around that clubhouse last night and the chaos that I'm sure ensued after, who were you most happy for?
Probably Butter.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian Butterfield. I stood next to him for the last. I stand next to him for a lot of the games when we're on defense and watching how he maneuvers everybody, and he was well liked in Toronto as a coach and as a person, and. This team is his first year with a new group of guys that had never been around him before, and right when I got here, that was one of the first things that I could tell right off the bat was how much these guys here appreciated how hard he works at trying to make them better, and how much they appreciate it, and how much that they get it. It's not nobody cared that Butter wanted to do early work. They were already out there doing it, and it almost felt like they all bought into everything that Butter cares about. And watching how everybody prepared, how everybody focused on the attention to detail on defense, as much as Brian likes to pay attention to that. It was just such a great combination, and seeing the shifting and a lot of ideas that Butter has about defense, seeing all of that work over the course of the last 2 months was pretty awesome. And I know, Dustin Pedroia really enjoyed being around Butter, and I know he's going to take Brian to the Gold Glove dinner because he just won a Gold Glove in I'm not sure when the dinner is, but
Nice.
Everybody really genuinely cares about being in the right spot, and not just about going out there with your glove and playing defense, but playing it at another level, and that's right up Brian's alley.
How much credit does John Farrell deserve? This is kind of bittersweet as Toronto fans watch this and their former manager is standing there accepting the World Series trophy. How much credit does he deserve for what happened?
He deserves a good bit. It's helping to create an atmosphere that people want to come to the ballpark. Your players want to come to the ballpark. An atmosphere that everybody wants to be a part of, and what it's about, and how they go about doing their business. And the atmosphere in that clubhouse was get there early, work really hard, and do everything you can to win that night. And don't worry about how many hits you get. Don't worry about if you make an error. Don't worry about if you strike out. Don't worry about winning the game. And I know that coaching staff and John, the organization, preaches that and talks about it. But when you put that in place and you allow your players to buy into it, and the players do buy into it, and then the players, there's a lot of players that buy into that, and they take it to another level. But it's got to be there. It's got, those things have to be set and has to be talked about by your manager and your coaches, and it has to trickle down. And I think they did a really good job of setting the tone that, hey, this is what we're going to do, and you guys go ahead and do it. Don't need to have meetings. You don't need to yell and scream. As a manager and coach, you go about doing manager and coach things while allowing the players to I don't want to say to run the show, but by allowing the players to do what they do best, and that's play. So I almost felt like they put such a good idea in place in the minds of the minds of the players, and they let the players go out and do it. And it says a lot. It was never about a manager and never about the coaches. They just wanted to do everything to help you win. And there's just such a great mix of coaches and manager and players in that clubhouse this year. So I think he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, John McDonald, former Jay, part of the Red Sox team that locked it all up last night at Fenway Park, Game 6 of the World Series. John joining us here on Tim and Sid, Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and 360. John, the curious thing for me, and you're in the room, so you would know, clearly there was a different clubhouse feel with this group. And I think with most champions, there is something a little different. It's that X factor. And maybe it's what you just laid out of you got to give guys rope at some point. You just can't micromanage. You have to let leaders be leaders. What did you see around you in this clubhouse that you maybe haven't seen in others? Because, as you know, in this city, expectations were really high, and people are nitpicking this roster, figuring out maybe where it went wrong in 2013. What was different about this team compared to others you've been with?
There's a lot of things that worked, and it's tough to say why everything worked. I think you just have to appreciate the fact that it did, because in 15 years this is the only team that I've been on that's been there at the end, still standing. But I think for one, with David Ortiz, who cares so much about winning and not necessarily about being the man. He was. So it kind of works out that way. He talked to guys a couple of nights ago during the game about having fun, about being loose, about just about trusting in your preparation. Having somebody like him at the top of your trio leaders that we have on this team is pretty special, especially how good of a hitter he is, and something you can rely on. But we had a lot of guys in this clubhouse that really truly didn't care, who got it done. But Jared Saltamaki was a catcher for us all year long. Passed the baton to David Ross during the course of the playoffs, and was the biggest cheerleader for David Ross, trying to win this ring. Stephen Drew having his struggles at shortstop, but nobody wanting him to come out of the lineup. There wasn't anybody. Will Middlebrooks, as much as he wants to play, he wanted to see Steven succeed, and Xander Bogaerts succeed. And Will's in there cheering his butt off, and knowing that he'd been playing shortstop for most of the year and in the beginning of the playoffs, and all of a sudden it was gotten switched, and it wasn't you could just tell in the dugout it wasn't about Will, it wasn't about Jared, it was about about winning, and it was just such a I don't want to say refreshing. I mean, because it's like that in certain times, but to genuinely see that's all it was about. I mean, it really helped because there's a lot of good baseball players in that room.
Yeah.
But how are you going to be able to create that environment that it's going to let nobody look over their shoulder? Steven wasn't looking over his shoulder because he was seeing so much support, and things like that help. Plus our pitcher staff was great, and we had Koji Uehara at the back end of the bullpen that was electric. The last month plus of the season, he was almost unhittable.
Yeah, lights out. Jay's fan favorite, John McDonald, now World Series champ, joining us here on the line. The one thing in my morning reading as I was leafing through a bunch of different articles that popped out at me was someone tried to chronicle your conversation with your daughter, trying to explain why these people were watching and staying for so long. Can you kind of let us in on what that was about and how it came about?
So, well, they came out on the field about 5 minutes after the game ended, and my wife and kids they traveled during the not the division series, but in the ALCS to Detroit, and they went to all those games, and then the World Series they went out to St. Louis and they went to those games, and my daughter's having fun. She's 5. My son, who's 2.5, he just wants to run around and go crazy and just be with us. My daughter's trying to figure out why everything is going on, and she comes out on the field, and we're standing out in the middle of the field looking at almost 40,000 people not leaving, cheering their heads off, and I told her to look around, and she's like, "Why is everybody still here, Daddy?" I said, "Because we're the world champs." And she said, "So is there a game tomorrow?" Because we've been going to games, feel like we've been taking them to games every night. And I told her no, but that it's over, that we're the champs. And I said, "You look around, buddy." I said, "We're going to have pictures of this. You may not remember, you may not know what the magnitude of this is right now, or I don't know how I worded it. You may not understand it right now." I said, "But 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to realize that this is, one of the, most amazing things that's happened in the city in a long time. The Red Sox haven't never not clinched a World Series at home since 1918, and the fact that we're out in the middle of it and Daddy's going to get a ring is pretty. And we live 45 minutes from the stadium, and she's probably going to be a Red Sox fan. It's hard to describe to her, and as I was saying it, and as I'm saying it now, it's pretty mind blowing that I got to be a part of that.
Yeah, what a great moment.
Yeah, definitely. I would just look down and say, "You'll figure out when you're older. Leave me alone. I'm going to party with Poppy now."
As we're talking right now, people are driving by my house honking the horn.
Nice.
Amazing.
And we got Halloween tonight. My neighborhood's going crazy. I probably had about eight different of my neighbors I've left tickets for over the course of the playoffs, and everybody around here is so all into this team and how they play, and I think people can identify with this team more so than obviously it could last year, but some of the other teams that the Red Sox have had in the past, just because of how hard everybody played every night. And you didn't look at somebody on this team and say, "Wow, I wish he played harder," because you didn't have to say it because they did.
It's not just Boston either. Ed writes in and he echoes so many others and says, so happy for Johnny Mac. Make sure he knows that T.O. and Jay's fans love him and congratulate him.
That's awesome. I mean, I appreciate that so much. We wanted to do it we wanted to win so bad while we were in Toronto. There was a lot of guys who we would sit around and talk about how amazing it would have been to have won. Just talking about at the end of the years when the seasons were over, how much fun it would have had if we'd won, and how much fun it's going to be for that team that brings a championship to Toronto. It's going to happen. It's going to happen soon, and this party was great, but the party in Toronto will be pretty wild as well.
John, we're way late. 30 seconds left. Did you take any mementos home from Fenway yesterday? Did you steal anything you shouldn't have stolen?
No. We got a lot of pictures. I got a couple of champagne bottles with the Red Sox championship logo on it.
Sweet.
I get to take my my wife and kids on the duck boat parade on Saturday. So
nope, that's the big parade.
Yeah, I don't think you can be a baseball player, and I think that's going to be my memento. What's going to be in my mind, watching everyone come in from New England to watch this parade.
Hey, generous as always. Really appreciate you taking the time on today and trying to muster up a voice for us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
There is Johnny Mack, former Blue Jay. He, like John Farrell, will get his ring as a member of the Boston Red Sox.